안녕하세요. 리츠의 아버지입니다. 영상 마지막에 구독자분들을 위한 4월 무료 이벤트 진행하오니 참여하시고 혜택 받아보시기 바랍니다.
Effectively trying to make the case for why I think Bitcoin is a truly civilizational technology. It's a technology that is going to make a huge difference to our civilization. So what I do in this is I try and summarize the ideas of some of the great Austrian economists who have become a lot more popular recently because of Bitcoin, because they believe that money is something that is created by the state. And they believe that money is not a tool, they believe that the money is something that's created by the market. It emerges on the market and the state co-opts it, and when it co-opts it, it compromises the ability of people to use it properly to benefit itself. So it allows itself to spend more at the expense of its citizens. So why is the Austrian school so important? Because the Austrian school shows us that money can work without it needing to be the creature of the state. And so therefore, when you look at Bitcoin working, and you see that Bitcoin can operate without it needing a government agency being in charge of it, without it needing a government agency to give it value or to dictate its price, you see a live refutation of the state theory of money, a live refutation of the idea that the government is needed in order for money to work. And so therefore, that makes people curious. If you want to think about what economics is human beings acting and making decisions under the context of scarcity. The reason that we have economics is because we have scarcity. We have scarcity because it's a lot easier to want things than it is to make them. And so the next step in our economizing process is that we develop money as a tool and we start using it. You can trade with anybody in the world because everybody uses the same money, and so you're able to trade with them. Because I think the biggest problem that the world currently faces is the fact that this entire edifice all relies on money. What holds everything together is money. The glue that holds human civilization together is money. The reason we are able to trade with one another, the reason we're able to make economic calculation and decide how to use our capital goods is money. And when you destroy money, when you ruin money, you make everything else less functional, and we see civilization entirely breaking down from the top down. You see how all forms of economic and social cooperation begin to fall apart as a mechanism for people to hold on to value for the future. And so all the processes of economizing, we expect to provide for our future less in the future, so we discount the future more, so we become more present-oriented. You see that there's been a historical trend of interest rates declining over 5,000 years. Why? Interest rates decline. We as humans have developed better forms of saving for the future, better forms of money. And when we have a better form of money, so the more we develop harder money, the harder our money is, the more we can provide for the future, the more we become future-oriented, the more we delay gratification, the more we save, the more we take some of the resources that we could consume and enjoy today and instead put them in savings so that we could use them tomorrow. And then the beginning of the 20th century, when humanity moves off of gold to an easy money, which is government money, you see the process reversed. You see interest rates begin to rise. And you see all of these processes of civilization really begin to reverse. You see people becoming more and more at conflict with one another because the money that allows them to coordinate with one another is broken, so therefore the benefits of cooperation are being compromised. And you see this being reflected everywhere. You see it that in global trade breaks down at the time when money breaks down, and that was a major driver of World War II. In the 1930s, all of the protectionism, that was all because of the breakdown of money. The bad money causes us to raise our time preference, so we start saving less, so that means less capital is available. That means we have less ability to be productive. All of the forms of economizing that we use as human beings are being compromised because they all need a form of money that is not broken. And that is, in my opinion, the overarching problem of economics of the 20th century. We are a species that is constantly improving as a moral being by constantly becoming more future-oriented, by constantly finding harder and better money. We find the harder money, we can save more for the future. That allows us to become more future-oriented, we become more cooperative, more peaceful. We start saving more, we get better off. We move to a bad money, and now we see what's happened is that basically we've developed all these technologies and institutions and ways of dealing with each other that rely on people being civilized. But we destroyed the money, so we went back to primitive money that doesn't allow people to be civilized anymore. And so these institutions begin to fall apart. Because it is the only way that we can opt out of this monetary system that is broken, out of the money that is not working, out of the money that is basically built to rob you. And we are stuck in a situation that at the end of the gold standard, money was captured by governments because gold has to be centralized in order for it to work, for its clearance. And therefore governments essentially caught and captured money, and therefore made it impossible for people to use money other than their money. And this has been the case for the past century. Well, now we have an alternative. Now we have a way out. And now it's possible for anybody to store the wealth that they have in a form of money that doesn't devalue over time. It's possible for anybody to cooperate with anybody else and trade with them from anywhere to anywhere without having to rely on the money that is produced by governments. All of this together, I believe, is why it is such a big deal that we have Bitcoin, and why I think Bitcoin is going to continue to amaze the world with the impact that it has.
구독자분들이 무료로 참여하실 수 있는 이벤트를 오픈했습니다. 트레이더들이 실시간으로 관점을 분석하고 공유하는 관점방 참여와 불장 대비 포트폴리오 PDF 파일을 무료로 드리고 있습니다. 그리고 앤드류 팀 자체 제작 알파비트표 무료 체험 신청도 오픈했는데요. 무료 신청인 만큼 받으실 분들은 구독과 채널 알림 설정 한 번씩만 꼭 눌러주시면 감사하겠습니다. 빠른 신청 방법은 010-4667-8146 번호로 구독 문자 남겨주시는 분들께 무료 혜택 제공해드립니다. 자세한 신청 방법은 하단의 더보기란과 고정 댓글에 신청 방법 남겨놨습니다. 구독과 좋아요는 영상 제작에 큰 도움이 됩니다. 시청해주셔서 감사합니다.